All right, so we've taught you all about what an effective lesson plan will contain. Now let's get down to this nitty-gritty. Let's talk about crafting the lesson plan. First, let's make a few assumptions. You've set up your boundaries and rules in your classroom. You've built a team camaraderie. And you know the type of learner that you are and the type of learners that you have in your room. So when we're crafting a lesson plan, we're going to go through an order stratagem of what we would do. First, we're going to decide what we're teaching. Then we're going to look at our objectives. We're going to build KWL charts. Don't worry, we'll go into that. Research. We'll curriculum weave. We'll decide on our anticipatory sets. Anticipatory is just like the word it sounds like, anticipate. And it's just an object that you have that builds anticipation for what you're going to learn. You're going to remember to plan for movement, both brain activation and learning style types of movement, and your physical activity plus the formula, age minus 2. You got to plan for assessment questions, both the before questions and the after questions, using the inverted pyramid. So first, let's decide what we're teaching. First, we have some factors to consider. What age are we working with? And to continue with that weapons study class that we have as our concrete example, what we had were 3rd to 6th grade. You have to think about, how long am I teaching this? Our weapons study class, it was going to be for 6 weeks. It was 1 day, 1 hour a week. Now we have to think about our objectives, the big and the small objectives. Our big objectives, the concrete example from our weapons study class again, was a progression from ancient to modern weapons and why they were developed. We had at least 3 to 5 generals that I wanted them to remember. Now, not that we just covered only 3 to 5 generals, we covered more than that, but I wanted them to remember at the end of the entire thing, 3 to 5 generals, the cultural and geographical differences between those. Again, we went over several battle strategies, but by the end of the 6 weeks, I wanted them to be able to retell me 2 to 5 battle strategies. And know and understand the uses of 5 to 10 weapons. Same thing applies here. They knew we studied a lot more, but at the end of that 6 weeks, this is what the recall should be. For our small objectives in the weapons study class, we decided who, where, and why the ninjas were and what their unique strategy was. So this would have been something I narrowed way down into, a specific unit of warrior that I wanted them to focus on. And we would create their own weapons through the use of imagination, meaning it didn't have to be one that we studied, but maybe it took elements from what we studied, and that they thought about the physics of it. They were able to apply modern games and how they could be used as learning and military strategy. So if we were to play kickball or basketball or chess, what and how those worked as military strategies. All right, now we're at a KWL chart. A KWL is specifically what they know, what they want to know, and what they've learned. Basically, this is a chart that helps identify what you want them to know at the end of the lesson and how you're going to take them from A to Z. The K stands for, of course, what they know on the subject. In our weapons study class, that would have been that we knew they all loved modern weapons. And this class was full of samurai warrior lovers. They also had a basic continental geography understanding. The W was what I wanted them to learn and what they wanted to learn. So I would have spent time at the beginning, the very first class, having them tell me about what it is that they knew. Do this with your own children, not even if you're just volunteering for a co-op class. You might be surprised that actually, at least I am, I'm continually surprised by what my kids actually know that I did not teach them. And they've been with me their whole lives. And what they want to learn. It'll take you in surprising directions when you ask the child themselves. You may have an idea of where the lesson's going to go, but if you ask them where they want to learn, then they take ownership of it. If you'll remember, we talked about those classroom rules, and now they sign their name to it to take ownership of it, to take autonomy of that classroom. The same thing here. They're going to take autonomy of their learning. They're going to take ownership of it, and they'll be excited to learn. In our weapons study class, what they wanted to know was how to blow things up. Can you imagine? I had all boys and one girl. They wanted to know how to sword fight, and they wanted to, of course, learn more about Japanese warriors. The L is what they have learned, and I include we in here because I learned so much in this class. So again, here we used oral pop quizzes at the beginning and the end of lessons. We showed demonstration of knowledge on how to use a weapon, and they discovered how to manipulate and explain the change in physics after practicing with lesson weapons. And at the end of 6 weeks, they demonstrated knowledge of battle strategy and teamwork with a mock war, and it was epic. So a KWL chart may sound complicated, but it simply looks like this. You get a large sheet of paper or a small sheet of paper, whatever you've got on hand, and you're going to write a K, a W, and an L. You divide it up into 3 sections, and boom, you're done. That's your KWL chart. And you just fill it in, each one, as you're working over it. You can do this, some of it while you're curriculum weaving, but I also like to do this with the class because, again, I like to establish ownership of learning. And so I will build this KWL chart with my students.